I live in Greenbelt, a small city in PG County, Maryland, aka one of the wealthiest predominantly black counties in the U.S. And I, like many of my black PG peers, was born in Washington, D.C. and moved to this area. This, combined with the proximity to Southeast D.C., has allowed PG to adopt much of D.C. culture. One thing regarding this that has always stuck out to me growing up in PG is that while my generation understands the influence of DC culture on PG, we still make the social distinctions between us, being PG, and them, being DC, particularly the southeast portion. But why? Why is the Ward 9 status rejected by some PG residents? I mean, we love a go-go beat and mumbo sauce. We covet Helly Hansen.
So for all you press DMV niggas out there, if it's above 50 degrees, keep your hellies in, please.
And take pride in knowing how to beat your feet, but simultaneously side-eye those on the other side of the Anacostia for practicing the same culture. I think this is due to how PG is viewed as the good and DC, particularly the black eastern side, is viewed as the bad. PG is largely suburban, while eastern DC is largely urban. This distances PG from the stereotype of the poor single-parent house and crime-infested black neighborhood. This distance from the black stereotypes gives way to social mobility. We can partake in our adopted culture with the knowledge that we have our socio-economic status to fall back on. Before CRM, I was under the impression that I possessed no stereotypes, or that I could at least clearly identify stereotypes that existed around me to ensure I would not internalize them. But I'd only ever thought about stereotypes on a large scale, not how they exist within the pocket of my community. While in CRM, I developed a deeper understanding of stereotypes. Stereotypes do not only exist between different social or ethnic groups, but also exist within different factions of a single culture dependent on proximity to status. With this in mind, I realized that this type of classism was not a new concept and has existed for centuries. But I had believed that my community was above it as we lived in a new era. But my new perspective on my community allowed me to see that we were in fact partaking in this timeless practice. So while my PG peers and I accept our DC cultural roots, we have developed our sense of identity not through our cultural association, but rather socio-economic dissociation that allows us to distance ourselves from the stereotypes associated with our DC border. I had not even realized how much of it I had internalized. Even though I live a very privileged life, I do not completely fit into the mold of what is believed to be the PG life. Many of my peers do not either. It is our false belief of class versus classless. Both PG and DC are hubs for those of all socioeconomic backgrounds, but the distinctions of a suburban landscape and the urban landscape have placed a gap between the two places of a shared culture. I hope that with this realization of this issue, my peers and I can work towards repairing the bridge that has been broken.